It's good to have you join me again for an August Lectio Musica experience. This is our second week in August, and today I get to share something very special with you. The organist for this devotion is my nephew, Dr. Jason Paul Farris of Washington, D.C. He's recorded for this occasion 2 verses of a hymn that we all know. Likely it is one of the most well-known hymns of the world, and it has even become secularly popular. We'll be engaging with this hymn in 3 different ways. Then our third step of Lectio Musica, response, is when we will gather it up and meld them together. I want you to have the basic history of this hymn, particularly because you know the words automatically. But the history is going to add some depth, and you're going to hear it different because you do know it. You may know the story. If you're not, it's quite an amazing story. John Newton was born in England in the 1700s, and he had a very tragic life as a child. His mother died when he was 7. His father put him in a boarding school for about 2 years. At the age of between 10 and 11, his father took him out of the boarding school, and he was a sailor and had his own ship, and he put him on the ship as part of the crew, not as his son. He was treated rudely. No favors were given to him as the son of the ship's captain. He got the same jostling, the same teasing, and the same mistreatment that many others got. From this experience, he became a very angry person. He left his father's ship and he joined the English Royal Navy. But in that experience, he was disciplined for outrageous and unbecoming behavior, brutally whipped with a cat of 9 tails, and discharged from his post. He then bought a ship and he became a slave trafficker. He was known as a criminal and profane man. In 1748, something significant happened. His ship, full of slaves, was wrecked in a storm, and that experience changed his life forever. His behavior changed. It took him 6 years to get out of the slave business because he was in the middle of a year-long journey when the experience happened. He became an abolitionist and became an advocate for black rights. At age 39, he began to study religion and entered formal ministry and became an ordained minister in England. He had several parish ministry locations, and during his life he wrote over 280 hymns. With a group of other clergy and musicians, he helped compose and publish the volume called Olney, O-L-N-E-Y, Olney Hymns. For the first step, as you hear Amazing Grace on the organ being played, trust what images come to mind, what words, and jot them down. There's no hidden agenda here. There's no place I expect you to go. You have history, and you know the song, and you know the words. I want pure responses, and trust your instincts. If some words match the words you know to the song, write them down, that's fine. If there are words that are not attached to the hymn, write them down as well. So now, I would like you to just listen to Jason play Amazing Grace. this second step is going to feel abnormal because you're going to watch Jason play again. And that's the word watch. I don't want you to listen. I want you to be an observer. I want you to pay attention to what he's doing, to the details. Write down descriptions of what you see and what you observe visually. Jot down questions if they come up as well. So now, watch and observe Jason playing Amazing Grace. Welcome back. Now you have two perspectives you've collected in engaging with this video. You listened the first time and you observed the second time while hearing Amazing Grace. Now I'm going to give you a third experience with this song. On the screen, you're going to see some new words to Amazing Grace. New words for the first verse, and they are changed intentionally. You can pause your screen to write them down or click on the line below to have them print out on your printer. I'd like you to pause and read aloud the words to become comfortable with them. As you read those words, if you note the second verse, the word grace, when the author, Newton, writes, he uses it as an ongoing experience, not a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Whereas in his first verse, it would lead you to believe it only happened once in his life. That's the reason I changed the words. The second reason I changed the words was God does not see any of us as a wretch. We are loved, and in Genesis, God said, "It is very good" when he created humans on the last day. So the original first verse had some bad theology. So now when Jason plays, these two verses of Amazing Grace the third time, I want you to sing along with him and sing the new words that he plays for you on these two verses of Amazing Grace. Now I know the question is, there's no way she's pulling all this together. Well, first you heard a familiar song played after you heard the history of the song. Second, you watched the organist playing the song, watched and observed and wrote down observations. Third time, you joined Jason and you sang Amazing Grace with new words and new theology, which is current and appropriate. So how do you tie them together? Look at the words you wrote hearing the first time after hearing the history of the song. Now look at the words you wrote when you watched Jason playing. Here are a set of questions on the screen for you to work through. You may write them as you see them or click the button and have them print out. I will read them to you. When they're done, you will pause your screen to take time, as much time as you need, to answer these questions. Was grace a one-time event in John Newton's life, the author of Amazing Grace? What do you imagine was happening internally in John Newton's life the 6 years between the storm that changed his whole perspective and getting out of the slave business the 6 years later? Do you think Newton changed all his prior behaviors in one moment of time? Have you ever heard of the word embodied spirituality? Being embodied signifies feeling at home in your body with an increased ability to be in your body in the present moment and to feel all of its sensations both emotionally and physically, and to make safe and healthy choices to survive, or thrive is a better word. With this definition above, what of Newton's history told you he had become an embodied spiritual person? Now stay with me for another moment. When you observed Jason playing the organ, what words did you put down? Did any of those words lead or show you that Jason was engaged bodily with the music? Why do you think Jason chose to film his performance from the side? Note, you're not watching him from afar, like when you're watching a concert pianist or organist. He wanted you to engage with the whole experience of playing the organ, to see all movements, including his feet. Now, the thing that's important to know here is Jason didn't tell me how he was going to record this or what view he was going to do. All that Jason knew was I asked him to pick a hymn, play me 2 verses, and record on video himself doing it. He chose the song. I then watched it and put together this devotion. When I saw it, I realized Jason was metaphorically showing us that he had to keep moving. His feet had to keep finding the path to make that song complete and hear it in full embodiment through the organ. He couldn't play with just one hand and give you the experience. And what if you couldn't see his feet? What would you have missed? He was on a journey with the music. He's a very deeply spiritual person, my nephew Jason, and he takes his music as a ministry, and he is embodied when he plays. So how do you tie together Jason's choice of video presentation to the song Amazing Grace and to Newton's history of his life and the transformation that took place? And how do you apply that to your life? Now you get to pause, and you're going to have a little stretch here to answer all those questions and do some processing and some pondering. Welcome back from your time with your questions. I know I've created a puzzle of questions for you today, but that's just the point. I can't answer these questions for you, and I'm not certainly going to choose to answer the last one. But I am going to choose to share my personal learning from engaging with this video and this song because it became part of the Lectio Musica experience that I wrote out as a script for you. And it touched me deeply. Newton was a man who understood grace experientially. More than once, despite all of his early negative life experiences. The grace was ongoing throughout his life. Engaging with grace from God is a full embodied experience. It is a full engagement of the body to produce the music of our lives with God's grace. I'm going to repeat that. Engaging with grace from God is a full embodied experience. It is a full engagement of the body to produce the music of our lives, which is God's grace. The challenge: how do you wish to produce music in your life? Rest now. It feels like you need to rest today, doesn't it? You've worked hard on this one. Rest in God's grace. See what becomes clear. See what you are to keep from today's devotion. Be present, be attentive. This has been the most complicated one so far, and yet the most simple. Rest in grace. It's ongoing. Take away what you need. There's no right or wrong. It'll be what you need today, and when you're finished, you say thank you in the way that's most comfortable for you to end your time of devotion. I want to give a special thank you to my nephew, Dr. Jason Paul Farris, for recording this devotional music for us. And peace be with you in the days ahead. And may all of us recognize grace when it's shown to us and pass grace on to others, for it is a living, alive thing. I will be back next week with more Lectio Musica for you. Peace be with you.